At the beginning, before you've done any reading, the road ahead can be pretty overwhelming. And one way I've found to make it slightly less overwhelming is to structure your literature review in terms of questions you want to answer. Before you've started reading, these will be questions that you also don't know the answer to. But once you've finished reading and starting the writing, these questions will narrow your focus so that you always make sure you're answering the unanswered questions that the reader will have. And keep the questions simple, like super simple. The more simple the better, because it's often the most fundamental questions which we overlook when doing research. For example, the title of my master's thesis was Using Hidden Markov Models to Identify Cognitive Strategies During Spatial Reasoning Problems, blah 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 blah. Sounds pretty complicated, but the questions for my literature review were really simple. The first was, what is spatial reasoning? The next was, why is spatial reasoning important? And the third is, how can spatial reasoning be measured? And so on, and so on, and so on. You get the picture. Use questions to break down your literature review into bite-sized chunks. Using questions will also narrow your focus when you're actually doing the reading. Otherwise, it can be very easy to get distracted, reading interesting but totally irrelevant things during your research. Hack number 2. Use the 3 rounds of reading rule. Okay, so you've got your questions that you need to answer, but now what? Well, now it's time to read, but that can also seem a bit overwhelming. Like, how long are we meant to spend reading? How many papers am I meant to read? Am I meant to read all of the papers from start to finish? What am I meant to do when I have read a paper? From my experience, I have found using the 3 rounds of reading rule really helps. Except that you're going to have to complete multiple different rounds of reading, with each of these rounds serving a different purpose. The rest of this video will go into more depth about what to do during each round, but the quick summary is in round 1, you want to review, in round 2, you want to skim, and in round 3, you want to strengthen. Okay, hack number 3. Use round 1 to review. When you start out, you don't know anything. That means that you need to understand what's going on in your field of research first before you can explain it to the reader. The quickest and safest way to get up to speed on all the most important studies and theories in your chosen field is to search for review papers. Review papers are articles by prominent researchers in the field, which summarize all the studies that have been conducted within a specific topic or methodology. They normally have around 100 references in their reference list. Some have less, like 50 or so, others have more, like 100 to 200, but on the average, a good review will have at least 100 references. A good review will be split up into different sections to make it easier for you to find the information you need. You'll definitely want to focus on the introductory overview sections and the sections that criticize current research and identify opportunities for future research. The other sections to focus on will vary depending on what the questions are that you need to answer. Okay, hack number 4. Use the write as you read tactic to save time. When you're reading a review paper, you need to write notes as you're reading. This is such a huge time saver, and yet most people don't do it. Instead, and see if this sounds familiar, most people will read a paper, maybe highlight a few sentences, get to the end, check it off their to-do list, and then when it comes to having to write their literature review, they will have to reread the paper so they remember what it was about. This is insane! In the digital age of studying we're in, there is no point in doing anything twice. Instead, make your notes whilst you're reading the journal article. For the complete details on how to do this, check out my video, maybe here or somewhere up here, on how to do your literature review 100 times faster. Okay, hack number 5. Use emojis to label new references. When you're writing notes as you're reading, make a note of the different papers that you might want to skim in round 2. The fastest method I've found to do this is to copy the in-text citation into a comment on the PDF document. You do this for all the citations which take your interest as you're reading. Then once you're done, scroll to the reference list at the bottom and copy across the exact reference for each of those in-text citations in your comments. Once you've got all of your comments, like I say in my other video, copy all your comments across to a Notion document. I use Notion because it's free for individual users, it allows for super easy file organization and the immediate safety of cloud-based storage. It also allows for emojis. The emojis become very useful for me as I'm deciding what I'm going to do with each of the new references I've found. They generally split into 3 categories: round 2, bibliography, and irrelevance. Each of these categories have different emojis to label them. So round 2 gets a star, bibliography gets a little bookmark, and irrelevant gets nothing. Round 2 references require additional reading from me before I know whether they should be included in my literature review or not. But bibliography references are references that I know from reading the review in round 1 that they can definitely be included in my literature review, and therefore I don't need to read the actual paper. I just need to find the appropriate apostille citation and add it to my reference tracker. Which brings me to my next hack. Hack number 6. Use a tracker to organize your references. Honestly, use a tracker. I made mine in Notion because the data formatting options are super simple to do, but you could just as easily create a reference tracker in Excel or in Google Sheets. I have 6 columns in my reference tracker: the reference in APA format, the DOI link, the section of my literature review I need it for, the status of the reference itself, for example, not started, in progress, or completed, the summary, which links to the Notion page for all of my comments on the paper, and which reading round it's allocated to, round 1, round 2, round 3. As well as storing all your references in a neat and tidy categorized structure, the tracker also allows you to feel like you're making progress. For example, in Notion, you can set a counter to show you how many are marked as complete, giving you a sense of accomplishment and that it isn't just this never-ending staircase to hell. Hack number 7. Write first draft after round 1. This is super important and not to be overlooked. As long as you've done a thorough job of writing as you read, then you'll have written a lot of your literature review already. In order to save time and to make rounds 2 and 3 of reading as focused and efficient as possible, the smartest thing to do at this stage is to try and write a first draft of your literature review. We know that it's not going to be complete because you've already identified a bunch of references that require additional reading in round 2. But before you get there, use the questions that you outlined at the start and try to answer them to the best of your ability with the notes you've made and any additional ideas you have. To begin with, this normally just looks like a copy-paste job. Make a Word document with all of your original questions you were looking to answer. Next, go through each of your summary documents and copy each of your comments into the appropriate question section, making sure to add the in-text citation so you know where the idea has come from. And then it's time to synthesize and smooth out your writing. You're kind of editing what you've already written so that it flows from one sentence to the next. As you do this, make notes to yourself about where you feel like there are gaps in your argument. These are the gaps you're going to want to fill with the readings from rounds 2 and round 3. Okay, hack number 8. Use round 2 to skim. Once you've completed round 1, all of the references that you labelled with a star for round 2 are now going to become the focus. Round 2 is about skimming, which means you do not need to read the whole paper. In fact, in round 2, you're only going to read the abstracts for each paper. Based on your reading of the abstract, you will then categorise the round 2 references into one of 3 groups: round 3, bibliography, or irrelevant. If after reading the abstract you know that you can include the paper in your literature review, and you know which question it helps you to answer, then it can be labelled as bibliography, and you don't need to worry about reading the rest of the paper. Likewise, if after reading the abstract you know that the paper is not applicable to your research, then you can mark it as irrelevant and forget about it. Finally, if after reading the abstract you're either not sure whether it's relevant, or you know that you need to understand the experimental design or scientific theory in more detail, then add it to the list of round 3 reading. Quick side note. The quickest way to read a paper's abstract without having to click on additional links or download PDFs is to use PubMed. Once you've searched for your specific references on PubMed, it allows you to filter your results so that it shows you the abstract of the paper immediately on the website. This will save you so much time during round 2. You can thank me later. Okay, hack number 9. Use round 3 to strengthen. As already mentioned, round 3 of reading then becomes about strengthening and consolidating your argument. Remember, you've already written a first draft of your literature review at this stage, and any additional references which help your argument have been included from round 2. This final round is a bonus. Let me repeat, this is the bonus round. If you are strapped for time and already feel like you're behind on your projected timelines for your dissertation hand-in, then you do not have to do this round. But if you are on time and you want to get those top marks, then round 3 is what will make you stand out. This is your opportunity to show that you've gone above and beyond what is expected from the examiners. This might mean including a more recently published theory, which the majority of research has ignored. It might mean including contradictory research, which criticises the main studies you're testing. Or it might mean including a novel methodology which you haven't been taught about on your course. It could be any of these things and more, but making time for round 3 is what's going to make your literature review stand out from the rest and get you achieving a first-class mark for your literature review. Finally, hack number 10. Use a reference manager tool. For the love of God, please use a reference manager tool. How many hours do you spend copying out the citations from your reference list? How many hours do you spend checking whether you've included every reference? How many hours do you spend checking that all of your references are in the correct format? Well, this tool allows you to do all of that in 3 easy clicks. The first click is that you only need the DOI link in order to upload a reference. This means you don't need to copy the exact citation, you simply copy the DOI link for your specific paper and the tool will format for you depending on which format you need. For example, for me it was APA 7. The second click is that when you're writing your literature review and you need to cite a specific reference, you just need to click a little button on the Word widget and the tool will insert the correct citation for you. And finally, the third click is when it comes time for you to write your reference list. You simply click on the Insert References button on the Word widget and it creates your entire reference list in less than 5 seconds. I use Mendeley, but there are many other options. See which tool your university offers for free and try it out. To sum up, these are the 10 hacks for a first-class dissertation literature review. Hack number 1, use questions to structure your literature review. Hack number 2, use the 3 rounds of reading rule. Hack number 3, use round 1 to review. Hack number 4, write as you read to save time. Hack number 5, use emojis to label new references. Hack number 6, use a tracker to organise your references. Hack number 7, write first draft after round 1. Hack number 8, use round 2 to skim. Hack number 9, use round 3 to strengthen. And hack number 10, use a reference manager tool. Alright, I hope you found today's video useful. I'll see you here again soon.